It's time to present Scott DuPont to bring you another episode of Finance Your Movie with tips and strategies to help you get your money to tell your story. It's time!
I'm back with Maria Capp. Maria Capp is a fellow New Yorker, a fellow PGA member, and she's crushing it. She's got 20 plus producer credits, including her latest, which we'll talk about just a moment, The Lady of the Lake. And welcome, Maria, and please tell the whole title of your movie.
Of course, because you don't want to mispronounce that baby. The Lady of the Lake, The Legend of Lake Ronkonkoma. The Lady of the Lake, The Legend of Lake Ronkonkoma. That is the feature film that we are releasing this summer.
Awesome. First of all, thank you to Andrea at AMCKPR. I know you're super busy. You got a whole bunch of projects you're releasing, including this one, Lady of the Lake, this year. So thank you for making your time to do this. Before we jump into your most recent film, I want to kind of go back in history that might be helpful for our audience. You started out as an actor, I'm guessing, and then you became an acting coach, and then
So my trajectory is basically actor as a young teen when I got my SAG card, and then always in and out, never earned a living as an actor, but always earned money. And then family, marriage, children, in and out. And what ended up happening was on Long Island, I directed a lot of theater and was involved with teen and youth non-for-profits that geared toward that junior version of theatrical experience. So I was on the board for a non-for-profit, an organization called Kids for Kids Productions. I worked at Creative Ministries. I worked for the Bayway Arts Performing Arts Center, Smithtown, all the local theaters, directing and or producing, and sometimes even choreographing. Also in that structure or demographic, I coached as an acting teacher because I've always in and out studied. And one of the techniques that I studied was Ivana Chubbuck 12-step method. So I became certified to teach her method.
Awesome. If I could go back and tell my actor self 35 years ago, I would have sought out more producer acting coaches than casting director acting coaches, because the producers can hire you. I mean, it's great to learn from people, but you're in a position where you can actually hire people if you like them.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I love working with talent that I know and have worked for. And the Legend of Lake Ronkonkoma, The Lady of the Lake, is a testament to that, as well as really all the work that I do. I always look to work with people and give opportunities to those. Talent is talent and it's plentiful, but you want to work with people that you like, you trust. And I am all about giving opportunities for sure.
100%. So let's start with you had a similar career path that a lot of fellow producers have. You did a couple of short films. You did a music video. Then I want to talk about one of your earlier films, whether it's Reach, whether it's Four Cousins and the Christmas, which I saw, by the way, and I loved.
Oh, thank you.
So let's pick one of your earlier feature-length motion pictures that you put together, so we can drill down and share the audience like how you raised the money, how you put the movie together.
How much time do we have? I'm just kidding. So Reach was a collaborative effort. I mean, I was on the ground as the lead producer, really championing the project. At the time, I was full-time in Los Angeles. So I went to every networking opportunity that was available, whether it was free or paid. And then through the community, and at that point, it was very in person. I'm talking 2015, 16, 17, very much in person. So I went to AFM, I went to Sundance. I did come back east and I attended Tribeca. I was involved and then became on the board for Breaking into Hollywood, which is still in existence. I'm trying to think, independent film project. I mean, just anyone and anybody that would listen to me talk. And then I found that everyone was willing to listen because as long as you reciprocated and then listened to what they were working on. So it was just about grabbing a cup of coffee. Um, I'll just say from that, where I am today is the importance of networking and the importance of meeting people. And then, as from a producer standpoint, organizing the people that you meet and putting them in your memory, but also in a way that you can tap back in and reach out. So, if you met them at the PGA conference in 2024, you make that note and blah, blah, blah. For Reach, I didn't know any better. So, there was a level of fearlessness, so people were more forgiving, I think, when you
That's
flopped
good.
or you
That's
made a
good.
mistake. So, I mean, and fearlessness, I've been called fearless before because this is not my first time being very entrepreneurial and just having an eye on a goal and then going for it. But I think people along the way and even today are willing to pay it forward as long as you are prepared and you respect the room. If they say only have 5 minutes, you manage that 5 minutes and you need to know that you want to follow up with how can I follow up with you? Is there a person that I should follow up with? Any recommendation? Listen to what they say, make a note, and then I would show back up the following year or show back up with whatever it was that was the redirect or the instruction.
So
AFM was very
on Reach, did you help put any of the money together, or were you just kind of putting other the pieces and getting Corbin Burnson, some of those people attached?
so Reach was a very, very try and true experience in the sense that I started at 1.5 million. Maybe we even started the budget higher. Then we went down to 1.5 million. Then it was sub million, and where we netted out was a SAG ultra low budgeted film, right? And everybody needs to
Because
know
you
that
wanted to
because
make the film, not wait around another 3 years, right?
that's exactly right. I think I started pitching that. So what into I actually directed the young man who plays the actor who plays Clarence West in Reach. His name is Johnny James Fiore. I directed him in a play in I believe it was December of 2015 or maybe it was even 14 in Santa Monica. And the play was very similar. And during my directing and working with the actors, he identified with the character that he was playing on stage. And then we spoke about his experience and a script that he had drafted out based on Clarence West, which obviously came later in terms of the name. But from that, another partner and writing partner, Grant Harling, and myself, we got together. And what ended up happening was 18 months of writing, table read, um, feedback, drafts, back to the drawing board, and the three of us really collectively working together in a writing room environment. Like we really did. It was a great experience to come up with the script. I was the one out pitching it. And to answer your question about financing, it was really someone, actually Angela, the founding partner of Breaking into Hollywood. She said, Maria, what do you want to get out of this? What's your goal? You either, you won awards, it's a script. You either just make it and figure out how to make it because you just want to make something that you can say you did, or you continue the path and you start to do other things as well. So it was just, I spent so much time and energy. I just wanted to make it. So we did a crowdfunding campaign, private equity, and we had some brand integration, and the rest were in-kind donations. There were fixed costs, but when we let go of all the fancy bells and whistles in the traditional thought process of getting an MG or a pre-sale or all those other things, it was just let's make something, make it efficient, make it tight, make it good, match the story, which was great, and then see how we go along the way. And that's really what happened. I ended up staying in touch with everybody that I met who didn't give me a pre-sale deal or didn't buy the script or co-pro the script. We made it. Autumn Bailey Ford came on. She really helped get the film greenlit by attaching herself to it. And then everyone else that came to the project because the script resonated with them as a result of people reading it. So we just got an amazing group of professional below line crew and a great production manager, Charles Box Jr. And then I ended up partnering with an amazing post house who's been my producing partner ever since, KO Creative, Christy Kilday. Um, and that's how the movie was made. So then we
Awesome.
finished it. And then I went back to everybody that wouldn't give me an MG or a pre-sale or whatever. Sales agencies wanted the finished project, but I was able to sell it directly and get distribution offers.
Awesome. So, two things that kind of piqued my interest. You said you got some branding or product placement on this.
Yes,
Tell me.
clothing, just local clothing, so something as simple as wardrobe
Any
donated.
cash, or was it just kind of free
Now,
clothing?
everything was free clothing, but free clothing is free clothing
Yeah,
because I
saves on
had,
the wardrobe
I
budget.
have Garrett, absolutely, and I have Garrett Clayton in the movie, and his character is wearing that clothing that was very visible, and to be able to integrate that brand, and then partner with any kind of shout outs or social media. Was very helpful because at the end, even though you're not getting the dollars in the traditional way, if you think you're getting the dollars because they're reposting, they're sharing. So it's very much a digital marketing kind of partnership.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, so you're saving on your wardrobe budget. At the same time, you get some extra marketing you don't have to pay for. So in addition to the crowdfunding, you mentioned you had a few people came in, equity investors. What were those people like? Was it like half a dozen people? Was it one big executive producer?
So one executive producer, I would say one position, they call it, investor A, where it's like 120 or 130%, the position A, and then we had an investor B, and then I did have for a larger chunk. Well, investor A was the most money. That was a private equity investor, paid first, and then B, and then post production and deliverables and to pay for music. I ended up with another tier of a lot of small investors across the board. Um, yeah. Yes. And
Excellent.
then I will say sweat equity is money as well. There are people that came to this table who were far superior, far advanced in their careers and offered their expertise to help elevate the production and the value and everything about it.
Yeah, can never discount that. And every
Yeah,
dollar you don't have to raise is, or every dollar you don't spend is one less dollar you have to go out and raise. So
absolutely.
along those lines, you mentioned that you had a really good post house that you partnered with. So was that a
Yes.
situation where they did all your post services for a greatly reduced fee for some equity points, or did they trade out? How did that work?
Yeah, so I'll speak just in general because that partnership based on then and still is a producing partner, but there have been other companies that I've worked with in post. So anybody who works for a deferred rate is going to charge more money, right? So
Usually,
it's
yes.
right? So that's the same thing. If you can pay now, you can negotiate a lesser rate. But if you're asking for a deferment because you don't have the capital liquid, then there are companies that absolutely will work with you if they believe in the project and they see the potential of a return on investment. But sometimes it's just because there's a company that's transitioning into post house or transitioning into being a lab house, or maybe they were a trailer and poster asset only, and now they're expanding their services or their service model. I had a company that I met, which does fantastic level of work for really huge clients and brands. I met them at AFM, and I've been just dying to bring the right project to them because they're looking for the right project to expand and really tap into the market. I mean, 2020, 2021 kind of put a lot of these conversations on hold and reshifted. But just to answer your question, deferment means just that you're going to pay a higher fee when the money flows in, and it's a back end or it's a producer credit or it's back end points as you explained.
Yeah. So let's jump to your most current project, which is going to come out if you're watching this now the first week of August. It's going to be releasing very, very soon. So stay tuned. The Lady of the Lake. Let's talk about that one and how that project came together and how you put the money together, etc.
Yeah, so the Lady of the Lake, the Legend of Lake Ronkonkoma came about because I grew up in Lake Ronkonkoma on the lake as a child, from the Bronx to Long Island, summers out on Lake Ronkonkoma, and then
So,
permanently year round.
so as a New Yorker, I was in between Spanish Harlem in Manhattan, and
Uh-huh.
then we had a place out in New Jersey. I don't know where that lake is. So what part of New York is that? Is that on
Yeah, so
Long
it's on
Island?
Long Island. It is. It's on Long Island. If you take the Long Island Railroad, it's the Ronkonkoma line. If you drive out east to Montauk or the Hamptons, it's exit 59 off the Long Island Expressway.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And it's the largest I believe freshwater lake in New York. Definitely on
Wow.
Long Island. It is a national landmark. And the folklore that I grew up with, which there are many folklores, right? They're kind of all the same. A young girl who's Native American is forbidden to love somebody, and she throws herself into a body of water, and then she claims the life of somebody on an annual. I mean, that's basically what this is. This specifically, there's three different folklores. I chose the one that represented sorrowful, confused teen heart that acts impulsively. But at the end of the day, it's a folklore about a Native American teenager who doesn't get to be with her lover. Her lover is tragically distraught. He takes his life, she takes her life, and every year she comes back and takes the life of one male to the drowning in the lake. And that's the folklore. And I went with that story. There is a Pocahontas and John Smith version of that I just felt was too stereotypical. So I wanted to really be authentic to just two teenagers, forbidden love, Romeo and Juliet tragedy. And then here's this poor teenager who doesn't know what to do with her emotions. And all these years later, she's still acting in a very hormonal way, I guess.
Amazing. Great story and great demographic and audience too.
Yeah, so I'm not living, we have the 1600s, flashback, and I do set up, but what we're telling is a contemporary story. I'm very interested in intergenerational families. I'm interested in coming of age and the transition from high school to college. So that combined with my own personal family of people that I love who have lost a child, I was able to tell a story that I think is horrific, which is a parent losing a child, and that impact on the surviving siblings and what that's like to be a surviving sibling while graduating high school and getting ready to leave home while your family is suffering from the grief. And I just looped in the folklore and the legend into that story.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
I'm guessing this was a passion project being from New York,
Yes,
years and
absolutely.
years in the making, and then you finally figured out the budget.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, years and years in the making, in that I'm a storyteller. I write, I live, so I write about what I know. My imagination, runs wild. And I was in a screenwriting class, and I had to write a scene or a premise that was a horror in the horror genre. And I'm not a horror, I never thought of being. I mean, I wrote Four Cousins and a Christmas, so that's like a sappy American Italian family who, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah. So to me, what was horrible was the loss of a child. And then from there, it expanded and tapped into my always wanting to tell a story about growing up on Lake Ronkonkoma, being a teenager on Long Island, and then of course tying in the folklore. And during 2020, 2021, I really spent a lot of time back home and wrote and created this screenplay, and then started the campaigning to do the same thing that I did with the other two, which was AFM, networking, go back to everybody that I know and ask the same ask, different way. And the times were very challenging where everybody was saying, oh my gosh, because everything's shutting down, everybody needs content, content, content. So create it, pitch it, pitch it. And what ended up happening was it was the same uphill battle. So I shifted to competitions. I did a virtual pitch fest with FilmCom down in Nashville. I was awarded a small grant for that, which was used for development money.
Oh,
And then I
congrats.
Thank you. And then I continued to pitch and network, and where I ended up was with this non-for-profit NewYorkRep.org. And I was chosen as a female storyteller, filmmaker, to be mentored and consulted through their platform and use the resources and their guidance to, they sponsored me, and I was able to raise funds through their sponsorship and support.
Now I want to drill down in that particular thing you just mentioned. When
Yeah.
you partnered with that nonprofit organization, did they allow you to reach out to people and say, "Hey, do you want to donate money and get a tax write-off by putting money?" Is that the vehicle?
That is the big vehicle, big vehicle. We were able to use that non-for-profit and that tax write-off for everything. I walked around with that EIN number or whatever the 5013C, whatever documentation.
501(c)(3).
There you go. I used that, and now I was able to say I was being championed by a female executive of this non-for-profit that supported and elevated female storytellers that told stories that social injustice, oppression. Also,
Good
excuse me,
timing on all that, by the way.
oh yeah. Also, I am a member of Women in Media, and at the time, excuse me one second. Um, at the time I was the membership chair for Women in Media. And Women in Media is an organization, unlike other organizations, Women in Film and so forth. It focuses on below the line,
Oh, interesting.
identifying folks that work below the line. So it was a great networking source. It was also a great platform for me to speak off of and get more donations, get more vendors to want to work with me, because I was telling a story of people who are oppressed. The story was being told by a female point of view. I'm female. I wrote it, I directed, I'm producing it. So, really, in all of my literature, I never had lack of clarity on who I was, what my intention was, and what I needed to help me get there.
So what was the budget on the overall budget on Lady of the Lake?
Sub half mil.
Oh, okay, pretty fairly low. So what percentage of
Absolutely.
that would you say, you got a little bit of grant money. Congratulations on that. What percentage of that would you say would be the donations? And then did you also go out and get some equity investors as well?
So obviously you always need liquid cash, because even though you get donations to feed people, right? You still have to feed people, and that costs money. Even we were during COVID compliance world, so we had to pay for testing. COVID was so expensive to this endeavor. And even, if I cut it out, um, I would have spent the money elsewhere, to be honest with you, but it still would have been spent. But needless to say, because it needed to be spent, and that's liquid money. So to answer your question, um, there was definitely private equity money that was raised, and it's the same people that I tap into. Sometimes there's somebody that I don't know personally, and for this situation, I did have more liberty with people that I didn't know that were interested in jumping on here as an investor, but it came from having a track record, so it was much easier to get private equity, especially combined with the fact that I had so much money raised through the organization, and it just elevated it. I'm talking locations, equipment, um, but you still have to pay your crew, and you still have to feed them, and we still had to make sure they were safe and healthy. You have to
So
put
I
gas
want
in
to
the
connect the
car.
dot. I want to connect the dots here if I could.
Yeah, sure.
So you've got this great track record. You've done a whole bunch of films. You've had some success. You got all this buzz. You got the nonprofit set up, but you're reaching out to people you've never met. They're strangers. How was that? Were they fans of the folklore? Were they natives of the Long Island area? Was it
Yeah,
was it introduction of a friend of a friend?
yeah. All of the above. So the first obstacle I had was when I had the script being read by some of the industry folks. I was told you have to cast it authentically. And it's really important that you, as a non-Native American telling the story, get your facts straight and you have an opportunity. I was told by multiple people who were Native American industry people and even others that I had a responsibility and there was an opportunity for me to call out some of those stereotypical ways in which Native Americans are portrayed on camera. So I took all that advice in hand and partnered with the Shinnecock Reservation. If you're an East Coast guy, maybe you know of them. They're
Yeah.
also out east on Long Island, and they have an annual powwow, and there's other sister tribes that they partner with. But I was able to connect with them, and I actually cast 4 actors from who are members of the tribe, and then they acted as wardrobe consultant, language consultant,
Awesome.
and they read the script and pointed out anything that they felt was not on point or off kilter. So that's that. And then the other part of your question was, I think it was authenticity, people.
So we're just about to connect the dots here. So did any of that money come from the tribe members or just people?
No, so I would say the tribe members were also generous in their spirit and their prayer, and then generous in the generosity of their time and energy for having. So I have a scene in the movie that is a ceremonial casting of the spirit scene, and there's wardrobe that we used, and there's a
I
stage
saw that in the
ceremony.
trailer, by the way. It looks amazing.
Yeah, and then the 1600s, the wardrobe that the actors are wearing is very authentic. So that was the donation. I could never have afforded that in an indie world, right? Again, these
Yeah.
are the things that elevate the production, and I didn't have to part with the dollars, but they came to the project in a gracious and creative and enthusiastic way.
Awesome. Well, if you're listening to this right now, what's the best way that people can connect with you to see the movie coming up here shortly? A
Yeah,
website,
so we
best way to follow
have
you?
the best place to follow us is we're trying to put everything on the website, which is capriccielli.com. You said that you would share that information. We're also on all socials. We have the Lady of the Lake, the movie IG and Facebook page. The first big date is August 4th is the first theatrical screening on Long Island. Tickets are available on our website. Second big date is August 17th, which is a live virtual event, Q&A with the talent that Vision Films, who acquired us, is hosting with Sia Live. Andrea, you mentioned before, has been a huge supporter and fan in helping get us out there to, out there. And then we'll be announcing the actual release strategy through Vision shortly thereafter. So the best place would be capriccielli.com.
Awesome. And I'm going to spell that out. It's for our audio audience listening. It's CAPPRICIELLI.com.
You got it.
Thank you so much, the fearless Maria Capp. One last parting words of wisdom for a independent filmmaker getting ready to raise money for their first film or maybe their second slightly higher budget. What are some parting words of advice?
There is no one way. There are many ways. There is no right way, and there is no wrong way. It's just the way. That's really, you got to just figure it out, whatever that way is. But do not be afraid to ask for support. In-kind donations. I did brand integration triple in the last movies. Crowdfunding is always your friend. Grants, applications, finding an organization that might align with you as a filmmaker or align with your story, align with your messaging, um, and network, because I would not have the relationship with Vision Films had I not gone to AFM in 2015. I've been talking to Vision Films every one of my films, and every year I go to AFM. So when I brought this project along with other projects, she looks at my portfolio and says, "Oh my God, I really want this film." And so that's a good
Awesome.
thing to have someone say, "Oh my gosh, I really want this film." You
And they
need.
don't take a lot of films, so congratulations on that.
Thank you so much. I love the team at
Yeah.
Vision. They are wonderful. I highly recommend, if you can, get a title with them.
Yeah. Once again, Mariah Capp, thank you so much. I wish you all the best.
It's time!
There's never been a better time to make your own film. And if you have a dream project you're excited about and 100% committed to getting it funded, go to financeyourmovie.com, click on the green telephone, you'll see our calendar and find an open spot. We'll do a one-on-one call, which will be the best hour you've ever spent getting clarity and strategy towards financing your movie.